Hey guys, welcome to the Marissa Effect, the podcast where real talk meets deep connection. I'm your host, Marissa, and around here we are all about honest conversations, fresh perspectives, and living a life that feels aligned, inspired, and unapologetically you. Whether we are diving into relationships, wellness, or those aha moments that shift everything in life, this is your space to grow, laugh, and feel seen. I'm so happy you guys are all here with me, so let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome back to the Marissa Effect. This week, I'm super excited because finally my podcast is kind of doing what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to be like a platform where I got to interview people from all different backgrounds, all different areas of expertise. So this week, I get to sit next to one of my good friends, Mikayla, and she's a therapist, licensed therapist. I'm going to allow her to explain to you her credentials and talk a little bit about her background, but I'm super excited because this topic is super relevant in today's world because I know so many of us struggle with anxiety, depression, all different things of uncomfortability. And this conversation is just going to take us through those avenues. And we're going to talk about some ways to be able to cope and deal with these aspects of life and just talk about different things. And one more thing that I really want to say is we're going to even talk a little bit about ADHD. I know ADHD, I definitely have it, but I also know it's almost like this new trend buzzword that everybody wants to say they have. I have ADHD or I can't concentrate. So we are definitely going to talk about that. I have a bunch of questions about that, especially just because I don't know. I feel like because we lose focus, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's my ADHD. And I'm like, is that your ADHD or is that just like the internet talking? You know what I mean? Like the addiction to your social media platforms. But let's get into it. So welcome, Mikayla.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We've been planning this for a really, really long time.
We have. It's been in the works, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background, what brought you to this field, what your licenses are in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a psychotherapist and I own a private practice in Palm Beach Gardens, which used to be in West Palm, but I'm expanding in the Palm Beach County area, which is really exciting. I have a PhD in psychology, and I'm also a licensed clinical social worker. And I work with primarily at this point young adults and with their anxiety or adjustment disorders, depressive disorders, life challenges, things like that. Yeah.
It's so relative. So a young adult, teenagers, right? Or
a lot of
20s?
College students,
okay,
early 20s, mid 20s, like all the way up and through, 30s even, because life doesn't stop lifing.
I know. What are some challenges you hear, or do you hear anything very common and similar to another patient's story, like a common theme?
Yeah, a common theme, especially with young adult women, seems to be the anxiety surrounding like making friends and having like social activities to be a part of, and that connectedness that is kind of lost post college or even post high school. You don't have as accessible times to finding in-person friends, so that's definitely a common trend.
I definitely can see that because I do work in a high school, and it's thrown at them and encouraged to join a club, join a sport, join something. And it's just attainable, easier, where you could go to a trusted adult on campus and then they can kind of guide the student to where they need to be. But yeah, when you're on these big, large college campuses, it's kind of probably hard to narrow down what you'd be interested in, let alone just finding somebody to ask to connect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then post-college too, something that's not talked about enough is out in the job world, sometimes it can be quite isolating. It's not always so accessible to make friends and meet new people and get involved in community-like things.
Yeah, no, I believe that. That is so interesting. So how do you help them identify these I don't call them issues because I feel like that sounds like it, but how do you help them identify these things and help them cope so they can navigate it better?
So we talk about doing a lot of like exposure therapy. So doing the hands-on activity and going slow with it, making a plan, regulating, doing different grounding techniques, making sure they're at a good level with their nervous system to feel comfortable doing these eventually on their own.
Oh my God. I love that you talk about the nervous system because it's so true. Like when you have a dysregulated nervous system, You kind of show up to the world a little bit chaotic, even though maybe you're used to that, so you think that's normal, but it's not normal.
And people can sense that too. You know, it's not just an internal state, because that is also what then you're projecting out to other people as well, right?
Yeah.
And that nervous energy isn't something that can always be conducive for making new friends.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. So you also, one of your area of expertise is neurofeedback, right?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because even I'm a little unfamiliar with that, but it sounds super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So the type of neurofeedback that I do involves a 19-channel cap. And essentially what it is an EEG of the brain to look at the structural components of the brain and match it with the symptoms that you're experiencing. And then we will be looking at what your current brain patterns are and how to improve those to then improve your overall symptomology. So I start off by doing a brain map, which is a quantitative EEG of your brain. So essentially you'll put on the brain cap, and then I'll insert some gel into the electrodes, make sure I have a good signal. And then I will be mapping out the structure of your brain and seeing what are the brain patterns doing, what are the areas of concern, what is highlighting that is, you know, above or below the mean of a population that's compared to your own, and matching that with whatever the presenting symptoms are. So that could be anxiety, that could be ADHD, that could be depression, even sports related performance, sleep issues. So it's pretty vast.
Yeah, that's amazing. I there was a place in Boca back in the day, and they're not there anymore, but I did do this, and I remember this cap. Actually, I did it young as a kid, but I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia young, like third grade. So like I just knew I had these things my whole life. It's just a training. At this point, like if you told me you lied to me, I'm already convinced that I have these. You know what I mean? So anyway, years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I went to this place in Boca, and they put the cap on, and they gave me like this whole binder of all of my results, like all this mapping, and they kind of broke it down with me. And they gave me reasons of like when I would feel more, why I would feel more, like when I have ADHD, I'm more impulsive, and like why. Anyway, connected. The reason why you did that for this program would be like to sign up for I think it was like 12 weeks. And then the kids would go and sit and like almost play a video game, but the video game would almost like rewire the neural pathways in their brain and help heal it in a way so that they could stay more focused or not feel so burnt out or maybe not so fatigued. You know, everything's different, but that was, is that similar?
That's the same thing. So I typically use movies and shows rather than games, but it's the same thing. So based on the protocol that's input into the software, based on your brain patterns, you will get rewarded, and the screen will be brighter, the audio will be louder, so you'll be automatically reinforced to continue the brain patterns that are optimal. And then when your brain is doing things that it shouldn't be doing or that is not optimizing, then it gets darker, it gets quieter, the screen kind of shrinks. So your brain will start to autocorrect to get those rewards.
It's super cool. So have you seen, how long have you been doing that?
This is kind of a newer thing for me. I just started integrating it into the practice 3 months ago. So it's been a very amazing journey though, because among the clients that have tried it so far, they've already saw results in a very short amount of time. And that's something to highlight too, is I always recommend doing it in combination with talk therapy. So if somebody is very resistant to trying talk therapy and they only want to do neurofeedback, I'm very open to it, but I have seen the combination being the most effective approach.
Okay. It's so interesting. And so people are seeing a different, and they're feeling different. They're showing up in their lives, I'm sure, way differently.
Yes. Yeah. And for example, somebody that I've been doing it on that experiences anxiety, after 4 training sessions, she's already felt a difference with her nervous system, and has felt more regulated overall, feels less like that overthinking kind of behavior. And I think that's important to highlight when we're talking about anxiety. We just really touched on briefly the social anxiety aspects, but anxiety doesn't always look like a panic attack. It doesn't always look like something that's out of a textbook. Like sometimes it can just be overthinking behavior. It can be obsessive thoughts. It can be, you know, something that's just very worrisome, you know, and what takes it to that clinical level of having like generalized anxiety disorder is the impairment in everyday activity. So does it impair your life? And how so? And then that's kind of what differentiates our normal human instincts to have anxiety at times that warrant it, and then to have an actual disorder with anxiety.
Right. Because it's important, like we have normal fight or flight, like that's normal response, but to be in that constant state is not healthy.
Exactly. I mean, having a baseline level of anxiety is what keeps us from walking into traffic. It keeps us to show up at work to get a paycheck, to make sure that we can pay our bills. That is normal anxiety. And we all need a healthy level of that to kind of keep us going. It's the unhealthy levels when our body's recognizing that we're in, like you were mentioning, the fight or flight mode. When we're not actually in any kind of critical danger.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. But do you think that, okay, so say somebody does this program, right? And they're definitely seeing benefits. I still do feel that in order to see benefits and for them to work without being in the program, they need to maybe make some changes in their life. I do feel like social media, addiction, and like I know I'm always on it. I think it correlates with a lot of anxiety that people feel every single day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And depression. That is such a congruent situation of somebody that does the whole rotting in bed all day, the doom scrolling on their phone. There is such a parallel to their mood being low. And I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to that because it doesn't make us feel good, right? Whether we're actively picking up what the content is or if it's subconsciously being stored in our brain, it's not good content that we need. And it's an overabundance of content at that too. So then additionally, that's where like this ADHD type of symptoms present when we're constantly used to instant gratification of every second we swipe and we get something else.
And instant gratification.
Saying that they now, you know, have an issue with attention or they now have ADHD, but
no, bothers me though. I know that sounds super opinionated, but it does bother me because I feel like, okay, like I had it when we weren't so overly exposed and the teacher could not refocus me. And I felt defeated as a child because I couldn't refocus for the life of me, even when I was being called out in class. So I just know what that feels like. But now I'm seeing everybody kind of saying, oh, this is my ADHD brain. I can't stay focused. I'm always distracted. It's like, yeah, you're always distracted because we're given so much right now. Like, I don't even believe, I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but can you just develop ADHD as an adult?
You can. Okay. You can. But I think a lot of the presenting symptoms, to your point, are not necessarily the actual diagnosis of ADHD. These are behaviors of inattention because of
something,
what we are exposing ourselves to. You know?
I do agree. I agree. So I think that the neurofeedback with some integration of like, I won't be on my phone for this many hours of the day, or like limiting yourself in those avenues would definitely help. And you can always picture neurofeedback as kind of like that back door that's always kind of working and it's doing its stuff even outside of the session. And then you integrate like the more cognitive work during like a talk therapy session, going into things like CBT or EMDR, and processing whatever it is that's going on with you that's causing that anxiety, so that your brain is getting corrected by the, you know, neurofeedback and having a more optimal brain pattern. But then also you're processing what is the root cause here? What's going on? Yeah. That's so true. Because I do feel like if you don't unpack what the root cause is, it's never actually going to go away. It doesn't matter what you do. It's going to always circle back if you don't get to the root cause.
And I think that's important to highlight too for the neurofeedback is medication. So some people that don't want to take medication, this could be a good alternative for them. That with therapy is not maybe enough for them or hasn't worked efficiently enough. The neurofeedback is a really great avenue to try something different if they don't want to do medication.
Yeah. and it's still successful, they're going to see the benefits.
Absolutely.
And so what is the program like? How every week they have to come, or?
So it is
More than 1 week?
Subjective to the person, but I always recommend 1 to 2 times a week
Okay.
when first starting off. And I'll do 10 training sessions.
Okay.
And then I will remap the brain, see what has changed, what is improved. We'll look at it. And also I want to do self-report. Like, what do you feel has changed? What do you think has, improved?
So it's like real life data. Like you can actually see the mapping change and compare it to your baseline data.
Yes.
So amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that.
Yeah, it is incredible. And then after that, if there's room to grow, we'll do 10 more sessions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some people with complex trauma, for example, or a traumatic brain injury or a stroke or things of that nature are, of course, going to need a little bit more than some others. But it's all subjective on the treatment and how your brain adapts to it. So, and then after, you've reached an optimal state, you can kind of come in for like tune-up sessions.
Yeah. So cool. And can anybody do this at home, or they need the program in order to do it at home?
There are certain agencies that would allow for at-home equipment. I don't, given the advanced software and hardware that I have in the practice. It's not at-home equipment. It's just for clinical use.
Okay. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
So that's newer to you. So let's talk a little bit about the anxiety piece, because it is relative. So if somebody say they're not doing the neurofeedback, or they're doing just regular therapy talk sessions, right? What are some other tasks that you would, or not tasks, but other remedies or something, skills that you would be able to provide to those types of clients?
Of course. So I think the most common coping skills are mindfulness exercises. So I love the Calm app and Headspace app and all of those good ones, because they have some great like guided meditations. Progressive muscle relaxation is really helpful for anxiety.
Wait, what's that?
So that is essentially, you start either at your head or your toes, and you go muscle by tensing, squeezing, holding, and then releasing.
Okay.
And so that is a very like somatic approach where you're integrating the body movement and the tightening of the muscles to then ultimately release the tension that you're carrying and have a more relaxed state.
Oh,
so
that's so cool. Have you ever heard of binaural beats?
No.
Okay. There's this app that I have, and they use binaural beats to, it's almost like along with a guided meditation. Oh. So it kind of takes your brain, and the whole thing is it's like reframes the way you think to like rewire it basically. And like, I don't know the long-term benefits, but I know that it helps in like relaxation and going to bed, or like maybe you're feeling anxious, your fight or flight. It kind of takes you out of that moment and regrounds you.
Yeah. And that's another one. Just any kind of like grounding techniques are so helpful for just overall regulation, because a lot of times our anxiety exists when we think about something that's going on in the past or something that's going to happen in the future. And rarely is it about the present when it's irrational or when it's not actually what's going on. Right. So grounding and, activating your 5 senses. So naming 3 things that you hear, see, taste, smell, feel can really help you just bring yourself back to the present moment and say, okay, well, why am I having all this anxiety? My body is safe. I'm in an office. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Things are okay.
Yeah, it does. And it calms your brain down to control like what is here that's physical to you. I feel like it brings you down to this moment. But as a therapist, what are some things that you do? Because it's a lot to listen to everybody else, right? I really do feel like we wear other people's emotions, whether we believe it or not, we do. So what do you do to kind of reground and regroup for yourself?
That's a great question. I see my own therapist.
Okay. Yeah.
All the best therapists have their own therapist.
Yeah.
It's great. So I keep up with my very regular therapy appointments, and I have for years and years. She's wonderful. So that's definitely something that helps me. Other than that, I find physical movement to be so effective for me as far as regrounding and a stress relief. Something that helps with my own anxiety is working out.
Yes.
Physical movement of any kind. And I always preach that to my clients, like, let's get outside, let's move our bodies, let's do something that gets us out of that state, because sometimes anxiety can feel like an energy surge going through our body and we need to release it somehow. And, you can't always just do that by reframing. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you need to just move a little,
Move
sweat it
around.
out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love so if I don't work out, I can see, especially for a couple consistent days, I could definitely see a big shift in me, whether how I show up to work, how I'm just irritable, especially around, now this is TMI, but around when I get my period for the females, I think that that's the best time to work out, even though there's different schools of thought here. Like some people say, listen to your body, don't overexert yourself around this time. But like if I don't release that energy almost, it just bottles up in me and I get more anxious.
Oh, absolutely. And to that point, it doesn't have to be, a really intense like HIIT workout. It could be yoga. It could be a good stretch. It could be a walk outside. It could be a jog, like whatever works for your body and your symptoms is totally fine. But that is definitely a very effective approach for anxiety and depression as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that depression and they're linked together?
Yeah.
But do some people maybe they have, I don't know how to ask this actually. Like, do you think maybe it's more anxiety than depression or more depression than anxiety? Or like, I feel like they feed off of each other.
They can, absolutely. But every client that has anxiety doesn't have depression and then vice versa. I wouldn't say it's like a synonymous kind of diagnosis. No. So it depends where they're at, but you're right. It's kind of a cycle too, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're socially anxious and they're avoiding social activities or social engagements with peers and they're self-isolating, that can lead to depression.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
And then it's the cycle where it becomes even harder to leave the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So. That is so true too. And then when you're like struggling with the anxiousness, I feel like it's easier to isolate because you're like, well, nobody else struggles like this, so I'm not going to talk about it. That's another thing I want to talk about on this podcast too, is like to feel safe and okay to say, yeah, I do need help, or I do need to talk this through with somebody. Like these are all okay things. Like it's okay not to feel okay sometimes. It is.
And I think you make a really, really good observation there, because a lot of people don't go to therapy because they say, it's not bad enough, or other people have it worse, or I don't know. This is just like normal, right? I'll get over it. But at the same time, like, why not get help when resources are there for you when it could, improve your quality of life?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But I do think we're moving as a society to a place where it is a bit more and more common. Like it's good to, and honestly, we have therapists at schools now, which is really good. We're like mandated to have them. So it's really good for schools, to be able to have that. And I don't know, I think every child will benefit from it, every adult too, because there are times like in my life that I'm like, oh my gosh, can't wait I need to talk to a therapist or something like that,
Definitely. And I think the newer generation is becoming so much more open and talking about therapy. It's almost kind of like a confidence boost to say that you've gone to therapy or that you have a therapist for, the younger generation now.
Yeah.
Which is really great. I think that has a lot to do with the exposure and integration within the school system, because there's therapists everywhere now. And that is reducing the stigma, because it's like everyone wants to go talk to the therapist, right?
Yeah. Wait, okay, because there is therapy everywhere, but now it's even more automated where like people are using ChatGPT as their therapist, like their online AI robot chat.
It's so scary. It's so scary. I actually saw...
What's your feedback on that?
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I saw a post recently of a therapist that intentionally was inputting sentences into chat to see what was the response going to be, and it was alarming. It was things that
can you give us examples?
Like safety concerns.
Oh, really?
Yes, saying things that a therapist would definitely pick up on and do maybe like a thorough assessment on to evaluate for psychological well-being, and potentially do like a recommendation for higher level of care. So like the chat though was responding as if
it was casual.
It was okay. They were supporting what they were doing of like cutting off all family members and doing like engaging in dangerous activity and things like that, where chat was responding in a really poor way that a therapist should not, I hope would not. And that just, I think, creates a whole different realm of danger associated with this, especially if you have like a young teenager with a brain that hasn't fully developed and is very impressionable and very vulnerable. And is going to take whatever that screen says as expert and follow it, right? So that's really concerning. And then I think we have, of course, the concern that maybe therapy won't even exist in a few years because of ChatGPT.
Yeah, but then what you just said, it will go to the extreme. Like, I do believe we live in an extremist world. You're either one way all the way over here or you're one way over there. There's like a little bit of amount of the population that fall in the middle. But I think that's where we're going to start seeing kind of, like, I have a friend that just used it for her personal life stuff. And I was just like, wow, like, well, I guess like that's how you used it. Like ChatGPT guided her and gave her advice, and she liked it. It benefited her story. And I'm like, oh, okay, but we're not learning still. Like if it's benefiting your story, and the story, if you're wrong or something like that, it feeds into your wrong type of thought process. I even know that I'm going to use that as myself as example. Like I even know that because it's like my best friend, I'll say. So it's like it knows you, it knows what you're feeding it, and so it comes back and it kind of supports or validates what I have to say. So I could be doing something really shitty, and it's kind of like, I understand where you're coming from. It's like, it's truly like your best girlfriend that like it doesn't give you that real tough talk back.
And it's not working from every angle to see the reality or the gravity of the situation. It is more of a validation tool at times.
Yeah, but sometimes when we're being validated as a human, it's like some people seek validation to support poor behavior.
To justify it.
To justify poor behavior. So when you're using it as that, you're just falling into that, or you're just continuing your manipulation tactics, and you're not learning, you're not unwrapping all of that. So you're not getting any further, to be honest. It's just, it's useful in a lot of ways, and I think it can be very harmful in a lot of ways. Yeah. So true. But I did want to talk a little bit about that, because I did have I have students that use it, and they use it as therapy. One student even went as far as saying to their mom and dad, like, I don't need chat. Like, if we just pay the $20 a month and get the more advanced version, I'm going to be perfect. I talk to chat all day. And I laugh, but I was like, wow, like, it's kind of crazy. That's how accessible it is.
And I think it's that dialogue of talking to it and building that attachment or that relationship, that reliancy on it could also be another facet of danger.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm going to just incriminate myself. I even talk to it. I get that lazy. I don't even want to type in. So I talk to it. But then I also was wondering, like, the other day, like, am I that, I might just be that lonely of a person. Like, you just want to be able to be in communication with somebody. So like, as long as you have something to talk to ChatGPT with, it kind of fills a void.
Yeah, it can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But maybe having that awareness piece to it, and knowing when, okay, maybe I should pick up the phone and FaceTime a friend then. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's just all interesting topics. And whether this cures anxiety later down the road, or just really, really makes it a whole nother beast, like I feel like it's going to be anxiety on steroids or something. We won't know until we get there, almost. Right. But I do feel like coming out of COVID, because we're 5 years out of COVID, that now people, it's like everybody's living post-COVID. So it's like their new life. But everybody felt that isolation at one point, and then they went back to a world. Do you still see people kind of combating what they went through in COVID, or just like regrouping, like reliving a new life? Like, what do you see for those types of, like, those individuals?
Yeah, I would say COVID was horrible for social anxiety. It just, I mean, it was comfortable in the moment, but then when everyone had to go back to work, it was like the scariest thing in the world, right? Something that used to be so normal for all of us. Working from home was a kind of a foreign concept for a lot of occupations until it wasn't. Then the mandates to go back a couple years later have been really hard on some people.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Do you think that a lot of individuals would benefit more so from returning back to work, for those who never went back to work? I do feel like it's good to be around interactions all day. It kind of keeps you in a groove, in a schedule like mindset.
I think at minimum a hybrid model, right?
Okay,
so having multiple days where you should be having some kind of interaction in person, not just through Zoom, not just on your phone or through email, but going in and interacting with other people. I think that gets, your routine going, your social engagement better, your ability to effectively communicate and problem solve with others. I feel like all of that's so important, and it is hard to do solely remote.
Yeah.
And what if it's not necessarily work related, but what if it could be, as long as they're getting out and they're doing something throughout their day that is social or that is interacting with other people, right?
Yeah.
A workout class, an art class, something that's like getting them out and doing something for a meaningful purpose.
No, I totally agree. And that's like to piggyback a little bit about what we were talking about earlier. I know for myself, my physical fitness community is like my therapy too. Like, you know what I mean? So, I know that it's harder as an adult, especially somebody who doesn't often work out. It's hard to kind of carve into these types of communities because, you might not feel like, you're meant to be there, but even though they are, but there's a stigma towards all of these, and I get it all. But how do you, like, for young adults, basically, that's what I'm trying to go back to, for young adults who want to try something new, because there are so many benefits from working out. And I really think that there's so many benefits for working out with a community, because you're surrounded by people. And honestly, a lot of times that turns into a happy hour, or go get a smoothie after, or like if you're a mom, a play date with your kids, with their kids. Like I've just seen so much change in other people's lives just from joining a fitness community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from the standpoint of anxiety and how that can be a deterrent of joining anything like that, with my clients, I meet them where they're at. So we're always going from the perspective of where they're at and how can I gently challenge and push to a speed that is appropriate for them. And maybe it's not a workout class, because that's not meant for everyone. It really isn't. But what can we do to get you out of that comfort zone and to start progressing in that goal?
Yeah. I love it though. I love talking about mental health awareness and all of that stuff. It's so important. It really is. It goes hand in hand with your physical fitness goals, everything. Yes. Your achievements, everything.
Overall wellness and just well-being. Yes. It's such a holistic thing where we need to not just fix one area or focus on one thing. It's everything in combination, right?
I totally agree.
Physical movement. It's your mental health. It's what you're feeding your body. It's just all the things in combination.
Yeah. So to go back towards the ADHD diagnoses, you can never correct ADHD. You just learn to live with it, correct? I have that right? Or I have it wrong?
You can correct it, right? Like whatever words you want to use, outgrow it, move past it, no longer meet diagnostic criteria for.
Okay.
Depending on what's going on
your
with
skill, your coping
your brain.
Skills and your,
right. Okay. And I mean, people that are taking medication, that's not curing it or, anything like that. It's essentially treating the issue at hand in the moment while taking the medication. So it's like,
I see what you're saying. Yeah. But for somebody who has done the neurofeedback, practices certain lifestyle skills, and they've seen a change,
they might not meet diagnostic criteria for ADHD.
So they might really rewire their brain where it's no longer like coming up in the mapping test. Yes. Wow. I think that's amazing.
Or it's not a concern to them, right? Which is the biggest part of this.
Yeah.
As much as the visual representation is so helpful for people to understand how much there's progress, checking in on yourself and your symptoms is the biggest test that we could ever give. It's checking in with how you're feeling. Because if the screen says one thing, but you're feeling a different way, we got to trust how you're feeling.
It's the truth. Yeah. And do you see that a lot of ADHD is connected to anxiety?
I think that there are moments of misdiagnosis of ADHD, and maybe it is anxiety, because thinking about anxiety from that standpoint of fight or flight, it's very hard to focus when you are in a state of arousal like that, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times your brain patterns are scattered, your thoughts are all over the place, and that can present as attention deficit.
Yeah.
But maybe it's anxiety.
Okay, yeah. So cool. So have you ever, I know you, like, have you ever experienced that where you saw like maybe they had symptoms of, and then all of a sudden something became more clear?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I want to be careful because this is like a really big buzzword. But OCD, can present as anxiety until knowing more about like their symptoms and how they're presenting, and the diagnoses of generalized anxiety disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder can look a little similar when you're just meeting with somebody or they're just describing their behavioral traits. But until digging deeper, it could be something else. And that can be for a multitude of diagnoses.
Yeah. So fascinating. I could talk about all this all day long.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. What is a day like for you? Like how many clients or patient? What is it? Patients, clients. Okay. Can you see in one day, or is it recommended to see in one day? Before you're like, I'm not paying attention anymore. You know what I mean?
Everyone is so different.
Okay.
And I know that's such a stereotypical answer that it's subjective, but everyone's brain capacity, emotional capacity has different thresholds. I teeter on the side of a lot of clients a day. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily the average, but I see anywhere from 5 to 10 a day. And they're
like an hour, a half hour. Oh, okay, an hour.
Yes. So, yes, I stay busy.
Yes. Do you have time in between so you can like transition and like decompress, or no, you just go right into another?
Depends on the day.
Oh, wow.
So that's, private practice is unique in that way. I get to set my own hours, my own schedule, things like that. But I also want to accommodate all my clients. So, I have recently taken on some new therapists, which is great to help me out at the practice, and they have their own clients that they see, and that's been great to see the practice grow like that.
Yeah. And this office space is new to you, right?
It is. Yeah. About a month and a half ago, I moved in here.
So perfect. So you were in the public sector. What were you doing before this?
So I've owned the practice for 5 years.
Okay.
My previous location was in West Palm. And then about a month ago, like I was saying, I moved up here to Palm Beach Gardens. But before that, I was working in a school.
Oh, you were? Okay, yes. I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah. An elementary school. And then when COVID hit, everything went virtually. So I had a little bit more time on my hands, and that's when I opened up the
started
practice.
This and developed this.
Yeah.
And now it's grown to this office space.
Yes. It's really exciting to see that.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So this is called Thrive Therapy, right?
Thrive Therapy of Palm Beach.
Okay, perfect. And if somebody wanted to follow you, you guys have a website. Do you have an Instagram handle?
I have all of it. Yes. So thrivetherapypalmbeach.com is the website. You can inquire through there. I have wonderful admin that will handle any requests and do a full complimentary consultation call with you to make sure you're a good fit and we can meet your needs and all of that. We take a lot of private insurances as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Perfect. So you guys could follow her. And Mikayla, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show. You better come on because you have so much more to teach us, I feel like.
Yeah, this has been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the Marissa Effect. This is where conversations stick and stories spark something real. If today's episode moved you, made you think, or gave you a little inspo, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really means the world. Until next time, keep showing up, stay curious, and remember that your story has an effect too. See you all next week.